If you were running a large company today, would you require all of your employees to take the vaccine to come back to work?
Yes, I think that, first of all, let's establish that that should be a right of any company, any restaurant, any cruise ship, whatever. I think at some point, we don't want to force people to get the vaccine as a government. But I think in a free market economy, some restaurants, some companies, some offices can say, hey, this is the way we're going to try to do it. I think you could have immunity certificates or passports that are done not as a method for the government to force people to do things, but let the market figure it out. If I run a business, if I run an office, I might have to work it out with my workers that I want everybody to be immunized at a certain point, or if not, to have to work in a different section to come from home. I don't think we should try to decree this on some big national basis. I think that's what's great about having different companies be able to sort it through themselves.
So Walter, the CEO of Qantas, the Australian airline, said that they were considering requiring it, for example, for all passengers on the plane, almost as a way to potentially be a competitive advantage. But I don't know if it quickly became a competitive disadvantage or not, but the outcry was real. And so the question is whether you think it does become a competitive advantage or, as I said, a disadvantage, given the seeming anti-vax movement in at least this country, but also around the globe.
Well, that's something the market can sort out, not only with vaccines, but with instant tests. I think we're going to have another transformative thing besides these vaccines, which is in the next couple of months, or really the next month or so, we'll have point of service tests where whether you're a restaurant, cruise ship, whatever it may be, a bus line, you can say to people, you got to take a test and test negative before you come in and eat or get on board. If the market says, no, I'd rather eat in restaurants where people aren't tested and aren't vaccinated, or if there's some outcry, fine, let the market say that. But if I'm a business owner, I know which side I'm going to be on.
What happens if the market does say that, though? Because one of the things that's been so at least bizarre in my mind, but I know there's lots of people who disagree, this issue of masking. You know, you go to certain parts of the country and masking is just not part of the day-to-day. In New York, it is part of the day-to-day. But there is a meaningful pushback on masking in this country. I hate to say that, but it seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you have to have public safety method. And, in England, they're testing it out with these immunity passports. You don't want to impinge on somebody's freedom, except if that person is potentially going to be harmed to other people, be harmful to other people around them. At which point you sort of have a right to say, don't go around without a mask. This is something, obviously, we've been litigating and arguing in the United States. But I think, this notion that we're afraid of vaccinations, we're afraid of masks, fine. Let there be some restaurants where unmasked and unvaccinated people can go if they want, but let the rest of us say we want to patronize businesses where people are safe.
Right. Joan Lipman is on the line, and I want to bring her into the conversation. I don't know if she had an opportunity to hear all of this. Distinguished fellow, of course, for journalism at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, and, of course, a CNBC contributor as well. The question I'd ask you, Joanne, is there is also a concern among the scientific community, epidemiologists, others who've worked during these pandemics. Some of them would love a mandate. In theory, they'd love a mandate. But one of the things you do hear about is the potential backlash, which is to say that if there's a view that big business or big government is imposing their view on people, whether it helps those who want to go to the restaurant that Walter's just talking about, it could potentially hurt, quote unquote, society because a larger percentage of the country then says, you know what, I don't want to take this thing. I don't know if that's true, but it's a view that's often posited.
Yeah, I've heard that view as well. I think, Andrew, that first of all, I have to say, Andrew, you have been doing a real service by just talking about the science. We know, I didn't hear the earlier part of the conversation, but we already know that 4 out of 10 people don't want to take this vaccine. And we know that the Black and Hispanic communities are less likely to want to take this vaccine. So you have that in addition to all of the other pushback that you are talking about. I can imagine a situation where companies ultimately offer this the way that you offer a flu shot. Instead of making it mandatory, offering it in that way. And also, you could see an incentive. I would say most companies, I would imagine, are going to end up going with the carrot rather than the stick. In other words, perhaps you could get a gift card, or even more substantively, you could get perhaps a discount on your insurance, the way that you do if you're a non-smoker, or the way you do for auto insurance if you're a safe driver.
Right.
You could see those sorts of incentives being perhaps more effective than trying to make this mandatory for everyone.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.